In the spirit of reconciliation, the new Blurt acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtsters, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the new Blurt.
You absolutely are listening to the new Blurt. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. If you are joining us on the new Blurt tonight, I am the Kegster, and if you've ever listened to the new Blurt before, you will know that I'm coming to you from a Wurundjeri country of the Kulin Nation of the Wurrung people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been and always will be Aboriginal land. Tonight, we're very, very lucky. We have Dan Ilic from Irrational Fear fame and many, many other things with us tonight. He'll probably pop in about 25 past 8 tonight. So stick around for that one. It'll be a bit of fun. Dan's always great to have on the show to find out what's happening in 2024. And also, he's got his millionth download show in Melbourne that I will be going to early February this year. So that should be pretty cool. We can ask him about that. And also he's moved since last time we spoke to him. Wency, so good evening to you, Wenceslas, for 2024 for the first time. Good to see you.
G'day. Happy New Year to you. And before I continue on, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Mianjin region here and recognise their continuing connection to the lands and waters of the Yagara and Turrbal people. And I respect Yagara and Turrbal people past, present and emerging. So yes, Happy New Year to you. Bit of a rocky start.
Yes, a bit of a rocky start, but look, we're doing okay now. We're doing all right now, so we'll just stick where we are now. But can you believe 150 shows? This is our 150th show.
I know. It feels like the first.
Yes, it does actually. It definitely does feel like the first.
But it's been a fun ride so far.
It has been a very, very fun ride. And we're very lucky because we've had Dan on the show multiple times now. And if it finishes in a 25 or a 50, he's been on the show. So he's definitely been a big part of that. And look, it's actually quite a good milestone. There's only a very small percentage of the podcast world that ever gets to 100 episodes. So the fact that we've got to 150 is pretty damn good.
It is.
It does blow me away just looking at the figure, to be honest. 150 episodes is quite a lot. But I must admit, I did listen to Will Anderson the other day on TOFOP.
TOFOP, what's that?
Okay, so I never knew, but TOFOP is actually standing for 30 odd foot of pod.
Not 30 odd foot of grunt.
No, because that's Russell Crowe's show. But yes. I was listening to TOFOP's 500th show.
500th, wow.
The other day where they had Russell Crowe on.
Yeah, even awesome.
He was on for about 15, 20 minutes. And, they were just talking about 30 odd foot of grunt and how they named it after him, et cetera, et cetera. So it was, awesome. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So you're now back in Brisbane, as your moniker says there. What do you mean a meal's $18, not $5?
Well, I did spend quite a number of weeks in Thailand and Vietnam, and when meals are costing $5 or less, I'm just struggling to pay full price again. It's just terrible.
Look, I could imagine. And also, and we've got to boycott Woolies. Apparently, we have to go to Coles to get our stuff. We can't go anywhere else.
You're jumping on the Spudhead Peter Dutton bandwagon, are you? That we must boycott these big businesses.
Yes, definitely. Especially when they're woke businesses. But it's quite obvious, though. I mean, the reason that it had nothing to do with being woke or believing in the in the Indigenous cause for not wanting to sell sort of Australian, i.e., Australian flag paraphernalia, etc., which is
made in China, by the way.
Correct. It's all made in China. And it's terrible too. It's shocking for the environment. You name it. There's nothing good about it whatsoever. But the reason that Woolworths would have done that, because they're not a charity. They they did it because obviously they weren't making any money out of it.
But decreasing sales. Why keep selling something that's not selling well? So
that's right.
Commercial sense. But then Peter Dutton's not interested in what makes sense and what's business sense. He just had to make it a political statement, didn't he?
Well, absolutely. I think quote Dan Ilic, Peter Dutton's hard of listening. So and he is. So, but anyway, less of him and more of the show, I think.
Yes, exactly.
One thing I did want to talk about, I don't know if you caught up with the news on this, but we were nearly about to surpass 100,000 EVs coming into Australia. It was it's meant to be a milestone, but it was missed. And the reason the milestone was missed, and I should have a picky here. See if I can get it up, get the picture up somewhere. Okay, here we go. This is always fun trying to do this live. So I've got the picture. Just see if we can. There we go. So that little critter there apparently decimates pears and apple orchards and you name it. So they're trying to do everything they can, obviously, to keep that thing out. And New Zealand had some issues with it not that long ago. I'm pretty damn sure it didn't get in because their borders are fantastic when it comes to biohazards and those sort of things.
So as strict as our quarantine.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was a cargo ship carrying thousands of electric vehicles was supposed to deliver them by Christmas, but it had to turn around because they found stink bugs in it, and it came from China. Now, this had a whole bunch of Teslas on it. So, yes, Teslas are now being made in China. No, well, the delay in delivery had a significant impact on the electric vehicle sale, and Australian sales of Tesla Model Y dropped from 3,157 in November to 1,351 in December. That's a pretty big drop.
That's a big drop, isn't it?
And the EV Council stated the delayed shipment impacted Australia's entire market. So there you go. But the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Forestry stated the yellow-spotted stink bug poses a significant threat to our plant health environment due to damage it can do to agricultural crops, etc. So, so they had 87,000 electric cars in 2023 instead of 100,000, which they would have got to if it wasn't for that little old stink bug.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
still very small number of EVs being sold here in Australia, but compared to other countries, but hopefully that'll increase over the coming year or two.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got to get, and obviously we'll talk to Dan about this as well, but they've got to improve the infrastructure. They just have to, and they have to roll it out a hell of a lot faster. We wanted to, we were looking at sort of going to EV side of things, but they're just so expensive. For the first hand, you can get some second hand EVs. There's a good company called, I think it's called the Good Car Company.
Yeah, okay.
And they've got, I think you can get them from under 30 grand sort of thing. So that's affordable for some people, but we're talking, I think they're anywhere between, maybe 5 to 10 years old or something. So obviously the technology wouldn't be, as modern as what you're getting now with your new MG 4s or 5s or whatever it is, and blah, blah, blah.
And the battery
but those things are 50K. Well, absolutely. It's just so expensive. So, but anyway, now I understand that Australia has a new head of state. Have you got that information?
Yeah, apparently we've got a new queen, haven't we? Didn't something happen over the weekend?
That's what I'm hearing. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hearing.
yeah.
Have you got any lowdown on this?
I believe Queen Mary from Tassie has become the new queen of Denmark, and I've got some cousins who actually live in Denmark. So um,
Were
we
they happy
failed
with the
to
new
go.
queen?
Oh, they're very happy. They're very apathetic, I guess. I wouldn't say happy. They're just whatever. They're Chilean, so they're not Danish born or
Oh,
anything.
right.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're so they're not too fussed about it. But yeah, they gave us a bit of stick to say for us here in Australia, my sister and I, saying, oh yeah, we've got a new Aussie head of state, so yeah, happy to see that. So they were pretty chuffed about it that Australia's there now, part of them. So yeah.
Well, I think Australia will sort of take whatever they can get, really.
Oh, exactly.
Denmark, UK, wherever it is, as long as there's a head of a state and it's Australian, they'll take whatever it is. But it's an interesting story with Mary Donaldson, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if our guest later on has maybe a tiny story or two to maybe even mention about Mary Donaldson. I don't know. It just seems to get everywhere and seems to know everyone. So yeah, it's interesting.
He's
Very,
been around
very
the
interesting.
traps, hasn't he?
But he
yes,
has.
we will get to
Well,
that one.
absolutely. But we will. But look, talking about someone who seems to know everything and everyone, could be a bit of time for
11,780 votes to win the election. Thomas, I need 11,000 votes.
Losers only. It's Trump Watch. China.
Yeah, it is absolutely Trump Watch. And if you have been following any Trump Watch at all over the break, I pity you because unfortunately I do. It's just something that I do. So, nicely done there. Very nicely done. Yes, very nicely done. Very nicely done. Anyone watching not watching the show and on the podcast at the moment, we've got Trump in jail for a banner. So that's what I was talking to Wency about just then. So Donald, Orangehead, we don't like to use his full name on the show, won the Iowa caucus in America today by about 50% plus,
wow.
I think. Yeah, it was pretty easy. And
he hasn't even been in any of the debates, has he?
No, and he didn't visit any of the counties in Iowa either. And
that's so sad.
They had like negative 35 degrees, blizzards, you name it, and these mega nut jobs turn up. And and anyway, but I mean, the thing is, Ron DeSantis, I think, got 20%. Well, he's sort of like I don't even know what you call him. He's still trying to learn how to stand. Well, there is that. He's still trying to work out how to stand properly. If you ever seen him in a debate, it doesn't look like he knows just how to stand like a normal human being. It's really weird.
Maybe he's an alien, and that's why he can't stand properly. It still hasn't worked it out.
It could be. Very alienistic, very robotic arms and and so many people have sort of had a go at him with his smile. It almost looks like he is alien because they've slowed the smile down and it just looks creepy. You wouldn't want to show that to your kids, honestly. It's pretty scary stuff. The other thing about Trump as well is he's just been kicked off 2 states. Kicked off the ballot in 2 states in America, Maine and Colorado, and he's just recently, I believe, gone to the appeals court to try to get back on with Colorado, and I don't think they've come back with a decision yet. I feel that the appeals court will probably uphold the Attorney General's decision in Colorado. And it'll probably go up to the Supreme Court, I would imagine, US Supreme Court. And then the US Supreme Court will probably say, no, you can't kick him off. And because, the Conservatives there are 6-3. So, he's got everything in his favor, basically. So
exactly. That's why Trump's not worried.
No, No, he's not. And it's weird too. I mean, he's not worried. He's got 91 felony counts and 5 indictments or 4 indictments or whatever it is. A second sexual abuse charge. I think that's meant to be this week sometime with Jean Carroll. He's already been found guilty once, but they thought that wasn't good enough, so I'll have another go at her publicly afterwards. So she went, oh well, I'll see you again. So so that's what's happening there basically. So, but yeah, so it's just honestly in Trump Town, there's so much happening. It's just amazing. I saw something yesterday that just blew me away. Actually, there's a grandma that took part in the January 6th insurrection, and she was found. You could see it on the video. She had an ice pick in her hand, and she was smashing the windows and all these sort of things. So she was very, very much a Jan 6 terrorist. There was no real qualms there, as it were, and it was interesting because the interviewer from, I think it was CNN or AP, I can't remember. They were saying, "Do you have any remorse for what you did?" And it was amazing. The only remorse she had is the fact she's going to jail for 5 years, and that she's going to have her family look after themselves. And her kids are going to have to grow up without her. But no remorse at all for
on her actions. Great.
Yeah, none.
Yeah,
no,
just what we need in society.
Absolutely. and she still believes from 2020, she still believes in 2024, still believes everything that she knows, everything she's read, blah, 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 blah. And she's going to jail for 5 years. She still believes the election was stolen.
Talk about brainwashed.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But hey, did you have anything else there on Blurt Around the World, or is it just about time to bring Dan in?
I think it's about time we get Dan on.
All right. So what we'll do is just go for a quick break, and we will be back with Dan Ilic.
When you give blood, you're more than just a blood donor. You're the lifeblood of Australia. Search Give Blood and book your donation with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood today. Give life. Give blood.
The Australia Institute produces high-quality research that has real-world impact, whether it's revealing the $10.3 billion in fossil fuel subsidies provided by federal and state governments last year, or our long-standing research advocating for a federal anti-corruption commission with real teeth. We change minds. To donate, head on over to australiainstitute.org.au.
Against it, but these fires are certainly not a function of climate change, they're just a function of life in Australia.
Why would a scientist want to change people's vote? I mean, this is you saw the spin over the past week as they drip fed.
A poll that came out last month, which found 1 in 4 Americans is skeptical of the effects of climate change and thinks this issue's been exaggerated.
It's cold.
You're listening to Green There, Done That on the New Blurt with Wency and the Kegster.
You absolutely are. Wency, can you bring our guest in, please?
I sure can. I think we need to change the order here, but hello, Dan.
G'day, how are you?
No, that's not the one I wanted. We
Good to
did
be
practice this. There we go. That's the one.
Right. Excellent.
That's the money.
Much better.
That's the money
Much
shot.
better. Got to be careful saying that. Good evening, Dan. How are you going? Great to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thanks. Congratulations on 150 episodes. I remember when I was 150 episodes old, and boy, it was draining. So I hope you also are feeling drained, but maybe a sense of achievement at the same time.
Most definitely.
Yes.
It's definitely been a fun ride, hasn't it?
Great.
Well, you've been part of that 150 quite a bit. I mean, as I said, every time 25 came down around, we got you back on and tried to boost the ratings. And
look, I don't think me being on anything boosts anyone's ratings, but but you got to give it a go.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Actually, talking about giving it a go. Now, you have just clicked over your milestone of 1 million shows, I believe, with
Not a
Irrational
million
Fear.
shows, sadly. No, we haven't
Sorry,
done
1 million
We've done
downloads.
1 million
Download.
downloads. Yeah, so
Freudian slip there. Sorry.
that's
God,
exciting.
you must be about 150 years old if you did 1 million shows.
Yeah, oh my God, imagine if we'd done 1 million shows. It's possible. It's quite possible to do. No, not 1 million shows, but yeah, 1 million downloads. Yeah, which is kind of what if I was on maths, which is what my first episode of a podcast would do. It would easily do 1 million downloads. But no, it's taken us 12 years to reach 1 million downloads. But that's still 1 million's big, a lot more than none. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
look, if you're always comparing, I mean, you can compare yourself to anything. I mean, I remember I was having a look at, I think it was Michael Moore, and he reached 1 million downloads in about, I think it was, it's ridiculous. It was in like a month or something. It was just, it's just crazy. And I think Richard Feidler's got quite a few as well, I believe.
Yeah, Richard Feidler, he has got the most downloads of anyone in Australia. And incidentally, he's doing our 1,000,000th download show, which we're putting on the Melbourne, at the Malthouse in Melbourne in a couple of weeks. So I booked his tickets, I booked his accommodation. He's replies to the email, so he's coming. So it'll be interesting to see what he does on stage with us in a couple of weeks.
Have you had him on any of your shows before?
No, but we've had I was going to say we've had all the other Doug Anthony All-Stars, but that's not true. We haven't had Tim on. I need to get Tim on. But no, we've had Paul on. We haven't had Richard on before, and we haven't had Tim on. So Richard's the next one, and then I'll get Tim on in a couple. I'm making my mission to get Tim on before the end of the year for sure.
Yeah, I think
you can get them joined up again, like a reunion.
No, well, I think Paul would have strong words to say about that.
I think so.
He's a bit burnt by the whole process of the Doug Anthony All-Stars, I think.
Yeah, I've read a book by Flacco. I can't remember the guy who played Flacco.
Abbott. Can't remember.
No, that's the Sandman. Abbott is the Sandman. Yeah.
No, it's Paul something, but I can't remember. But that was really interesting. They did talk about the burnout. He talked about the burnout process because obviously he was there from day one, sort of big gig stuff, all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, no, look, really, really interesting. And you got some great guests there on the 1,000,000th show as well. It's not just Richard Feidler. You've got Kirsty Webeck, I believe, very funny lady.
Kirsty Webeck, Sammy Shah, Charlie Pickering. Andy McClellan's going to be DJing the whole show. We're going to try and do a Zoom call with Lewis Hobber, though it is his full first week of solo parenting.
Wow.
So he couldn't actually come down to Melbourne for it, which is a real shame. He told me that about a month after I'd already booked the show in. So he's like, I know it's in the diary, but my partner, she's got to go back to work full time, so I'm solo dadding for that week. And I'm like, well, fair enough, no worries. So that's we'll try and get him on the Zoom, see if that works.
So you might get Hubber and the baby on the Zoom at the same time, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe a nappy change or something like that.
Lewis has promised there will be screaming. Though I hung out with Olive, his daughter, on the weekend, and she's not so much a screamer. She's a squeaker. She's a real squeaky one. She's not. I wouldn't say a screamer. That's for sure.
No, that's nice. I love the name Olive too. It's awesome. It's good to have some of the old names.
Oh, she's a gorgeous kid, like solid hair, just like Lewis. Good furry hair going on there.
Very, very good. One thing I did want to talk to you about, out of the 1 million downloads, and obviously I'm not sure how many shows you're up to, but what would be one of the most standout? I mean, you've had you've had so many different experiences. I mean, you've gone up to the, I think, not East Timor, up to the
Torres
North.
Strait.
Yes, the Torres Strait. And you've had heaps of different types of shows, etc., for quite a long time. Is there any that sort of stand out to you at the moment?
Yeah, I think we've had some of our best shows in the last few years. So those early shows at the FBI Social in King's Cross were fantastic. They were really electric shows. Really thought we were making something special back in those early days.
And they were all live, yeah?
They were all live, yeah. So for the first year, I think Irrational Fear was live, about once a month, and we kind of do what we do now with our live shows, kind of panel show with individual performers doing something. So that tradition is kind of held on. In those early days, we had some great guests on, like Layla McKinnon. She came on. We did a current affair with Irrational Fear, and it was fantastic. And we've had Dr. Carl on, Tim Flannery on back in those early days. We did a US election special 4 years ago with Anthony Scaramucci. He came on when we had Francesca Fiorentini and Dave Anthony on at the same time, and then Scaramucci popped into the Zoom chat, and they all lost their shit. They thought it was the worst thing ever. And so that was really good. Ben Rhodes, former national security advisor for Barack Obama, joined us to talk talk of kind of foreign policy. That was really cool. And we revealed that when they used to get frustrated with Tony Abbott, they would all watch the Julia Gillard misogyny speech to cheer them up. That was really good. And our recent live shows over the last probably 2 years have been exceptional. So we did a great press freedom show a couple of years ago, 2019. That was with Ray Martin and Ben Fordham and Alice Workman. And it was just a really electric live show. And Kate, it was just so good. And then we did a show about secrets, and kind of how Australia is the most secretive country on earth. And
was that a pod?
We did a show. We did that as a part of the Festival of Dangerous Ideas. That was a great live show with David McBride. He was on stage, and of course, he's very likely to go to jail this year for telling us things that we should all know. That Australians committed war crimes in Afghanistan. So this is just sometimes we stumble into a topic when we do our live shows, which are usually themed, that is so juicy and interesting, and we can all laugh together and provide catharsis for it. And of course, the Billboard stunt in 2021 was absolutely huge. But probably one of my favorite shows and quite emotional shows was that show in the Torres Strait. There was something really special about performing comedy about giving First Nations people a voice on Thursday Island with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander comedians, and performing for a very small crowd, 60 to 80 people, but it was in a bowls club, and it sounded so loud. It was like 300 people where they were in the bowls club. And it was just one of the funniest things. And the relentless bullying of Lewis Hobber for being a tall white man was wonderful.
Yes, I heard that.
I'm short. I missed it, which was great. But
it was a great pod. That was a great pod.
It was just a really special show, and I walked away going, "Wow, fuck! What a privilege to kind of be able to do these things." So, and we've given. One of my personal joys is kind of giving people breaks as well. Like often Irrational Fear is seen as a feeder for larger media jobs. So great folks like James Colley, who is now head writer of Gruen and Question Everything. He kind of started out at Irrational Fear. Mark Humphrey started out at Irrational Fear. Gabby Bolt famously started out at Irrational Fear. So you kind of got a lot of great faces who kind of started their career at Irrational Fear and have done far better than I have done in comedy and media, and good on them. So it's that's a real privilege to kind of have a platform to find new voices, give people a go, and to have a really kind of fun space for comedians to say something about the world. And that's kind of what we try to do.
And we don't get many platforms to do that either. Sorry, Gexa. To do stuff like that.
Well, I mean, when we started the show in 2012, there wasn't any platforms. There was, there was no kind of daily show in Australia, and I really wanted to create one, so I created my own. And then fast forward 10 years, at one point you had Question Everything, The Weekly, Tom Ballard, Tom Ballard's show was before Question Everything, and then you had it was a great show, and then you had Sean McAuliffe's show as well. And so you kind of had these vehicles. Pickering show is very much Pickering and Chris Walker's voice. Sean's show is always very much Sean's voice,
Yeah.
and his writer's voice. So there's not a real platformy show where comedians can kind of say something about the world in their own opinion. So I think that's kind of what Irrational Fear does. It's funny, smart people talking about the world in funny ways, serious things in a funny way. Yeah.
It's what we need more of, that's for sure.
Well, Wency, please go get a job at a network and commission Irrational Fear. That'll be great.
Well,
If only I had
actually,
the strings to pull.
well,
Sorry,
I mean,
Kex,
talking
go.
about that, Dan. No, absolutely. Talking about that, Dan. That's what I want to talk to you about. When it comes to sort of climate change, comedy, and I mean, it's no comedy in climate change, but you know what I'm saying. When you've got a satirical sort of sketch, or you're trying to do some sort of message as well as comedic, et cetera, et cetera. In Australia, is there sort of do you have to skirt certain laws? With the new sort of protests that have come in and these sort of bullshit. I just wondered if sort of comedy gets hit a little bit from that side. Is there anything that you can't sort of touch that could be sort of skewed as illegal or et cetera, from a climate perspective now? Or?
Well, I don't think we're allowed to make fun of Vegemite. I think that is the last thing. No comedians are allowed to make jokes about yeast or yeast infections. Not allowed to say that. No, there is. You can kind of do anything you want, and as long as it's funny. The only thing you really have to be worried about is defamation. And you have to kind of be careful. Like, I can't go out on this podcast and say Lewis Hobber is a pedophile. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to, because he could.
We'll edit that out, okay?
I'm not allowed to do that. Not allowed to do that.
Are you allowed to say allegedly?
No, not even. Because these things are that is like extremely dangerous territory. Like I did an interview wrap-up show this year. Normally Alan Jones, my parody of Alan Jones, hosts it, but I decided in the interest of good taste I would retire Alan Jones after the recent bunch of sexual assault allegations.
So true. Yep.
And also I don't want to give any air to Alan Jones or talk about Alan Jones, but also there could be a risk of defamation if I did something now. So I'll just
stop.
Yeah.
AJ loves to sue.
Truth is not, and truth is not like. Unfortunately, truth is not a defense of defamation. The defaming is the thing that matters. If you defame someone, whether something's true or not, then that's the defamation.
I think that comes to something that I wanted to ask you. I'm not sure if it's true, but after what you just said then, I just wonder if there's any truth to the rumor that Sky was looking to replace you with AJ and maybe a parody show, or maybe with Spud and AJ's show or something. I just wondered
Alan Jones hasn't been on Sky for quite a few years. He started his own thing called Australian Digital Holdings with
that's going well.
Protege Jake Thrupp. I don't know where he's got the money from. Apparently, James Packer's tipped in some money into it. But I've seen ads around Sydney on Sydney buses for Alan Jones' show on Australian Digital Holdings, and it's purely a YouTube play. It's a YouTube. That's what it is. So, I don't know who the audience is. I don't know if Alan Jones's audience is young enough to know how to turn on YouTube. So,
exactly what I was thinking. Exactly.
Well, it's just one of those things. Like, it's the dumbest thing possible. Alan Jones should just go away.
Just retire.
You're rich enough. You don't need to do anything. Just disappear and never be heard of again. That's the easiest thing he should do.
That would be good.
If I was as rich as Alan Jones, I wouldn't be a public person.
No, but I mean, the problem is, Dan, he got by being who he is, you know what I mean? So
that's it. Yeah.
That's moving in that circle of influencers of not the TikTok kind, but just power. It's all about power, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, talking about complete shit shows, what was your thoughts on?
Fear, I hope.
No, we're talking about COP28. What was what were your sort of thoughts on that?
COP28 wasn't too bad. I mean, you had a whole bunch of great news at the start of COP28, where all the rich countries got together to commit a very small amount of money for mitigation and resilience projects for poorer countries. But that's still a pretty big win because countries have been asking for it for decades. So that's kind of exciting. So there's quite a few things to be excited about when it comes to COP28. So the biodiversity stuff is interesting. The resilience and mitigation fund is really interesting. Loss and damages fund is interesting. And very hopeful. And these things can, now that they're kind of in play, can ratchet up to be more significant, and no doubt they will. So that, I don't think it's too bad, but certainly the final text is a little weaker than people had hoped. But I think, there's always another COP. There's one happening in Azerbaijan next year. So
And that asks the next question, which is how does that happen? How do they choose where these places go? I mean, why
they all bid? So they literally all bid. Australia is in a bidding process at the moment for COP31 in 2026. So, and that could be in Brisbane in 2026, which is good. But we're up against Turkey. So Turkey is seen not as a serious contender because they've got a whole bunch of local domestic issues that are taking their attention away, like wars in Azerbaijan and Armenia, and their natural disasters which they've been facing for the last little bit, earthquakes and such. So while they're not really a serious contender, we think they might drop out in the next little bit. And then Australia and the Pacific, because it's a joint bid. So you have countries like Fiji and Vanuatu joining Australia to kind of hold a COP together, much to the chagrin of our Pacific nations, Pacific friends.
So Australia's going to do a Bradbury then?
Well, there's only two. Well, yeah, it will be. Yeah, it'll be out of the sheer luck. But I think to do a COP in Brisbane is probably in the lead up to the Olympics is probably a great thing. It might not even be Brisbane. It could be great. I mean, it could be great in Canberra. Canberra could hold a COP. But these things have gotten so big, you kind of need a huge, huge space to hold them. I think the last COP in Dubai, 100,000 people attended, which was huge. It is a big deal.
It's an MCG.
It is massive. It is absolutely massive.
Are they just delegates from governments?
Delegates from governments, civil society, corporations, primarily. So
media,
media, lobbyists, civil society, activists, delegates from countries, and lots and lots of lawyers. It is the Olympics of policy. It is the Olympics of lawyers. So if you've ever been to an Olympic Games, and I've been to a few, and I've been to a COP, it felt just like the Olympics walking into the main press center at Olympic Games or something.
I guess that's why they play around with the words, and that's why it takes them so long, all those days or weeks of negotiating, is to get those words right.
And there's a whole bunch of negotiations in the lead up to that, and then they all get into a room and they literally spend days arguing over the placement of a comma. So it is, and those things are important. Or the argument of the placement of one word, phase down versus phase out. Like these are big arguments, and they determine, they don't determine too much, but they set intention. And I think setting intention and goal setting is really important when it comes to climate.
Exactly. Especially when previous COPs, we've not really progressed that far. And like you said, COP28, you had that, what was it, phase down instead of phase out?
Yeah, I think they ended up scrapping phase down and phase out for something entirely different.
But it was something that they'd never really considered before.
Continuing.
Was that it? Kickstart?
Continuing.
Continuing.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of phase out or phase down.
And then they
continuing.
were going to throw in abated fossil fuels, abated emissions, which is a made-up word for a made-up thing.
So we're talking carbon credit stuff there, aren't we?
Yeah, carbon credits and carbon capture, yeah.
Yeah, stuff that doesn't work, which we all know about. Now, actually, talking about that, obviously with rational fear and everything else that you're doing at the moment, with that, from a climate perspective, are you getting sort of even more seriously into from a leadership position to actually start maybe trying to advise a bit more, or are you still staying in the comedy lane? And is it hard to traverse or?
Advise? Like I'm going to become a lobbyist in Canberra? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to
be better than the other lobbyists.
I make a comedy podcast. No, I don't think so. No, yeah.
So politics not in the field of view yet?
No, I don't think so. I think I would want to. I think I'd want to end my life if I end up working in politics. Yeah, it doesn't sound very appealing.
No. Everything I hear about politics, you go in with your values and your morals and everything else, and then once you're in the party machine, it all just goes away, and you just spew out whatever they need you to say.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a great line in Sam Power's book when she was ambassador to the UN. She stormed into the White House, and Barack Obama said, "Hey, Sam, what great American ideal have we betrayed today?"
Yeah, that's what it's like, isn't it?
And I think that's a very knowing wink. And I think, everybody who's inside those buildings knows exactly, the pressures that they're all under, to the compromises they all make. This is an imperfect system.
Yeah, for all their electorates and people that they've got all the lobbyists and whoever else that they really. Yeah.
So no, we're going to stick in the comedy lane for Rational Fear, but hopefully there's going to be another podcast, I think, coming out. I'll give you the exclusive. It's called Sitting Weeks. And it's going to be me and Amy Ramikis.
Nice.
Amy's going to explain to me the sitting week just passed. So we'll record a Rational Fear on the Thursday, sitting week on the Friday. Rational Fear will come out on Friday, sitting week will come out on Saturday. It'll only the first 8 minutes of sitting week will go on the free feed, and the rest will be on the Patreon. So this is going to be a way to build our Patreon with sitting week. So,
and when does that start up?
That's going to start hopefully when sitting week starts again. Yeah.
So sitting weeks, will that be under the Irrational Fear Patreon label?
It will be, yes. So if you're already a member of the Irrational Fear Patreon, you'll get sitting weeks as well.
Excellent.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. And I think Amy Ramikis is an absolute star. So
she is.
And so underused. Like I just so brilliant and underused, and she needs to have her own podcast. So I'll make her one.
Great decision. Excellent decision. Anytime I hear her on any YouTube, any of her articles there, she did a little potty a little while ago on, I think it was on Full Story, where she went up to Texas, Queensland.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear that one?
This is the thing where she wrote a
piece on the CWA.
Gone wrong in the CWA.
Yeah. Such a funny story, that one.
I was crying. That was hilarious.
I felt so bad for Amy Ramikis.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But fantastic. Just before you do go, Dan, last time we had you on, I believe you were in inner city Sydney. This time, I believe you have moved to the Southern Highlands.
That's right. I'm now outside of Sydney, a couple of hours outside of Sydney, and I've got a house with a podcast studio room.
Studios we can see in the background. Yeah.
Look, I don't want to flaunt my wealth and my privilege, but I have 3 toilets. So
wow.
This is a big step up from the 1-bedroom moldy apartment with mushrooms going out of the ceiling that I had in Bondi. I was renting in Bondi. So it's nice. I live in the country now. It's good fun.
And must be a good pace of change of pace.
It is. I mean, the pace doesn't change. It's just different locations. So I'm still everything I do is kind of from this room. So I'm still super busy and go to Sydney every now and then for work. But it's just it's just like I actually haven't slowed down much at all. Just it's just full on.
So you can easily remotely do everything that you're doing.
That's it. Yeah.
nature of
So
your work.
I think one of the great things about doing shows like At Home Alone Together is like, wow, I can actually produce an entire TV show from my bedroom. There's no need to be anywhere. I don't need to be at the ABC. I don't need to be. I don't need to have my social media posts scrutinized by some idiot at the ABC to have me fired. So it's really exciting to kind of be in my own space with my own rooms and make stuff. So already I'm producing a pitch for a documentary for AIDC, and we've got a little animation in production with Screen Australia and a credible comedian called Millie Holton. So that's a great animation that'll come out on TikTok in April or May. And got a little bit of development for a TV show idea with another showrunner and creator friend of mine. So it's like things are good, and then of course the podcast. And then I'm doing voiceovers and stuff from this room as well. So it's things are all right.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I imagine it must be good for your mental health too, being out in the Southern Highlands, getting out of Sydney.
It's great. Everything is 6 minutes away from everywhere else. So I picked a town with an office works and nearby, and I said, well, as long as there's an office works in town, I will move there. So that's what we did. It was great. So it's so remarkable to be like a 6 minute drive from anything, the gym, a cafe, an office works, whereas in Bondi, it's literally half an hour to get out.
Yeah, because Southern Highlands. No, I'm not that familiar with sort of New South Wales, to be honest. The Southern Highlands is it particularly? Is it? I assume there's quite a bit of snow up there at times, or not now, but I mean during sort of winter, or is it? Is it
really
that cold?
snow? It has in the past, like I think in the 40s and 50s it snowed, but no, it's kind of like it's kind of like the Macedon Ranges,
Okay.
It's not crazy.
Not too high, not elevated.
No.
Oh, that sounds nice. That sounds very good.
Yeah.
Well, look, Dan, as usual, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed having you on the show. Looking forward to see the Millions Download show in Melbourne in a couple of weeks' time.
I'm so excited you're all coming. It's very exciting.
I wish I could. I'm still in Brisbane, so I can't make it. But yeah, Kexter will film in. Yeah. You're not coming up here for the World Science Show or anything like that, or
no? Did you come to the science one on
no, I was busy last year. I think it was last year or the year before when you came, so I couldn't make it.
Last year. It was really good.
Yeah,
I even told you about that one too.
I know.
That was a great show. That was one of our favorite shows of last year. It was fantastic. Oh my god,
fantastic pod. It was.
I can't believe I can't believe we haven't been booked again.
But I thought you had a good audience there. What was?
It was sold out. Yeah. I don't know.
So why wouldn't they do that?
I don't know what they want from me.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Dr. Carl's back here for the World Science Fair, and a scientist, I can't remember his first name, Barry Green, maybe.
Okay.
Astrophysicist.
Oh,
and then
Brian.
the debate show, I think Mark Humphries is in it and someone else.
Oh, right.
Can't remember exactly.
Great.
But yeah, it should be interesting. I'll be trying to go to one or two of those shows.
Great. Excellent. I did Night of the Nerds 2 years in a row. So maybe they're sick of me now. Maybe they want somebody else.
They want your proteges. That's all it is. That's all.
That's
Yeah,
it.
true.
That's
all it is. That's all.
I'll heckle him for you then.
Oh no, he doesn't. Mark does an absolutely tremendous job. He's so good. Such a consummate host.
He's very funny, man. Absolutely.
He's very good.
As are you, Dan. And we enjoy following everything that's happening on the Irrational Fear side. And we'll keep in touch. And thank you very much for your time again.
Hey, thanks so much. And congratulations on 150 episodes. It's really, soon you're going to be catching up to us. I mean, we're only up to 212. So you're going to go right past us.
Just got to increase those downloads. That's all.
Yes, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
All right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks
Have a great
Dan.
year, and we'll talk to you later on.
Bye.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you. Wency, what we might do is just go to a quick break, and we'll just wrap up the show when we come back, basically. So
sounds good.
Yeah, I'll just got to sort out a couple of things here, and away we go.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wency and the Kexta, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
Hi, it's Ashley Fizame here, and you're listening to the new Blurt with Wency and Kexta.
You absolutely are. And if you have been with us on the pod, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or wherever you're viewing or hearing this,
or listening,
I hope you. Oh yes, absolutely. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've been very lucky. We've had Dan Ilic on the show for the last 30 or 40 minutes, and it's always a pleasure when Dan's on. He's always got something interesting to say. As he rightly said, the millionth download show is in Melbourne on the 1st of February. We will definitely have those details in our show notes, won't we, Wency?
Yes, and if there are any tickets, better get in quick because I'm sure it'll sell out.
Yeah, look, I think it probably will. I mean, there's quite a lot of posters out around places like, say, Sydney Road and some other sort of funky areas, Fitzroy, blah, blah, blah. Sort of people that would go to Rational Fear, I suppose.
Exactly.
But just bear with me for a second. Absolutely. We'll make sure those details are in the show notes. And as Dan said, it's got Sammy Shah, Kirsty Wiebeck, Richard Feidler, Charlie Pickering, and I know I've missed one, but I can't remember who it is. Obviously Lewis Hobbs on Zoom.
That's right.
Yes,
maybe,
so if you've ever
maybe in tow. Olive.
Yes,
Olive.
Yes, lovely Olive. What a great name! I love that name. It's a fantastic name.
Classic name, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Do not have enough old names of kids anymore. It's like Shaznay or whatever it is.
So you like Merle?
No.
Okay, that's an old name.
I do like Olive though. It's a great name. I don't mind Doris. Like if you were a little 6-year-old Doris now, that'd be quite cute.
Dorothy?
Yeah, I can handle that.
Okay.
I can handle that.
I just think of Dorothy the dinosaur from the Wiggles.
Oh, I just think it's the
Wizard of Oz?
Yes, Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Yes, that's what I think of. But yes, there's always Dorothy the dinosaur. That's very, very true. I was just trying to think. What's another old name? What's an old guy's name? Cecil.
Oh,
Cecil.
yes, Cecil. No, that's wrong.
You'd never hear any Cecil anymore.
No, Thethel.
Cecil. My granddad was Cecil.
Oh, was he? Apologies to your granddad. It just reminds me of Life of Brian. Remember when one of the emperors is trying to release Roger, and they all, because he's got a lisp, everyone
release Roger. Release Roger.
And the other one's got the other lisp with the C, and they keep saying Cecil and Caesar and other names, and he just can't pronounce it. So yes.
Which one's that one? Is that it's not Holy
Life
Grail,
of Brian.
is it?
No, Life of Brian. Yeah.
I actually meant Life of Brian, but it came out in Holy Grail. But I didn't mean Life of Brian. But no, that's a good flick, that one. I haven't watched that for quite a long time. It's just got so many good bits in it. But classic. Absolutely is a classic. So yeah, and also just wanted to reiterate what Dan was talking about. Sitting Weeks will be the new podcast that's going to be on the Irrational Fear label. So look out for that one in your podcast apps and catches. I know I definitely will be, with Amy Ramikas, because she is, as Dan said, an absolute cracker.
Yeah, she's a star. Love listening to her.
Yeah, she is a star. Jeez, how good would it? Oh, jeez, what a coup if you could get her on this show. That'd be amazing.
Oh, yeah. Something to work towards.
I might reach out. Maybe our
175th episode will get Dan and Amy on.
Yes, that'd be wonderful if that worked. Oh my God, that'd be crazy.
Okay, something to aim for.
Yes, definitely something to aim for. Absolutely, yes. So, as we said before on this show, there'll be quite a few different guests coming through this year. We're just Wency and I are trying to organise those things, and when there's only two of you doing everything, it's not easy. So
that's when you've got to juggle with family,
everything
life,
else. Exactly
work.
right. Exactly right. Exactly right. But we will get there, and it will be good. And we will see you next week. And if you've been watching or listening, I hope you very much enjoyed it. Till next week. See you later.
Take care.
See you, Wency.
Bye. Oh, hang on. Where's my camera? There. Bye.